Hello, everyone. This is Storm, Commissioner of the SADL, back with our Week 9 game reviews. With playoffs around the corner, we have another exciting week of matches. Everything's getting very close. Y'all see more of that when I release my standings breakdown, which will be the final standings breakdown pretty much for the season. I guess technically I'll do one in Week 10 just to show what the final standings are, but obviously it'll have less impact because the season will be over. Um, but this will be the probably the the most important, the last really important standings breakdown will be this week because it'll go over the last bit of information before playoffs and how that's all going to shape up. But until then, we have, of course, the game reviews, which we'll actually be able to see all of the games. And I started with the most important game of the season so far. Probably the most impactful game of the season. Maybe like a game earlier had a lot of impact this late. Obviously, there's head to heads and stuff like that, tiebreakers and whatnot. But right now, this game is the most impactful game. Here, the St. Wumples of the Anchorage Bear Ticks playing the House of Mouse, coached by Yeehaw Ha Yee. This game right here had huge playoff implications, not just for the two people involved, but also three other teams were hinging on this game to potentially make playoffs. It was a very big game. So I'm going to start off with this game because I kind of teased it in the last standings breakdown I made. I'm talking about how important of a match it was. So we get right to this match because it's very important. I made it the first match we're going to view today because I wanted it to be like just to start everything off in case anybody was curious. I could have saved it for last to build up some suspense, but I also wanted to talk about some other matches that are coming later in the game, later in the breakdown. So I'm just going to get this one out of the way, basically, and I didn't want to spoil it on accident. So pretty big match here. We see the Hoopa U lead into the Slitherwing, and pretty much Slitherwing is always going to force out Hoopa U because of the potential of first impression. So we see the Flame Charge into the Pelipper. Fearing a wild charge because that is something that we prepped. I kind of helped Wumples prep for this week. He asked me to help him prep. Wild charge was something on Slitherwing that we feared because it's the only thing that can really hit Pelipper hard. So he does switch out, and unfortunately, the Ogerpon takes a Protosynthesis boosted U-turn. Doesn't do a lot, but does a decent chunk. And then we see Meteor Beam Deoxys, but unfortunately, it misses here. And that's a pretty. I don't know how it affects the total outcome of the game, really and truthfully. It wasn't like a win or lose situation, but that does suck because that was a lot of damage that would have came out from that meteor beam. Probably would have. I'm fairly certain that would have killed this Ogerpon at the HP it had, but unfortunately, it misses. Ogerpon will then Horn Leech, and we see a very smart switch into the Hoopa on the Psycho Boost, and will probably force out this Deoxys. Zen Headbutt does absolutely nothing. Interesting read. I guess he didn't want to go for. I'm surprised not to see a dark move come out there. I don't know if he was maybe expecting trying to read the Slitherwing to come in and potentially live the dark move and force out the Hoopa. So a bit of an over prediction there. It's not the end of the world, but I feel like dark move is just always your play there. Um, very, very interesting tech. The Sand Tomb Bastiodon, um, and Terra fights to avoid the super effective damage. But I mean, this is rain boosted Urshifu Rapid Strike, so it does a decent chunk. We see the Rocky Helmet come off, Metal Burst, and then the Sand Tomb will finish off the Urshifu. So going down very early, a big threat out of the way. Um, Comes in. This is a Specs Iron Bundle, if I recall correctly. So Rain Boosted Hydro Pump absolutely destroys that Cryogonal. I don't know if the crit mattered. If it did, obviously that's very unfortunate, but it wasn't like the Cryogonal was going to live anyways. Thunderbolt comes out from Deoxys, and another Hydro Pump lands. So Iron Bundle picking up two swift kills. Once again, fearing the first impression, so we see it switch out. But a U-turn, nice little pivot there with that U-turn. Not a bad play from Yeehaw to position himself a little bit better. Um, Hurricane, though, so kind of Wumple's kind of forgetting that the Bastiodon is already Terran and predicting a Terra Grass from the Pseudo Wudo, trying to Hurricane it. But he does miss the head smash. So there's two pretty big misses. I think I don't really know if the game necessarily would be 100% in Yeehaw's favor if these miss or if these misses had landed. Obviously, like the Ogre Pawn would be dead, but that maybe differential would be better. I think is the big thing. But it's not like Ogre Pawn's doing a shit ton in this game, anyways. So at the end of the day, it's not a crazy miss that had a lot of impact. I think missing the head smash here is probably a little more impactful. Getting this Pelipper off the field as soon as possible. Hydro Pump though then lands the next turn to clean up the Pseudo Wudo. Um, Shaman comes out, big damage with the Seed Flare. Hurricane not enough to kill, and we see the Pelipper go down. Sacking the Pelipper to get in a good switch in. The Iron Boulder comes out. Really just to clean up at this point. Mighty Cleave does a chunk. Zen Headbutt. Does he get the flinch? No, but he does live the U-turn. And then we're able to see Iron Boulder clean up basically. Yeah, here, get the kill in the Bastion. Dies to the Rocky Helmet, but it's 3v1. And like I said, I don't know if the misses impacted the game that much. Obviously, like there was always a switch into Hoopa to revenge kill the Deoxys if it did kill the Ogre Pawn, as well as like the next turn or 2 turns later, the Pelipper winds up dying anyways. And all I would have done was just sped up getting in another answer. So at the end of the day, I really don't know if I really don't think the misses impacted the game that much. But unfortunate to see, you don't want to see misses. You don't want to see that kind of stuff happening in the game. You want it to be as clean as possible. But a big, big victory for the Anchorage Bearticks this week, um, helping them, securing them further into the playoffs, and securing a few other people in the playoffs, as you're going to see later. So playing the hero this week, very big from Wumples. The next match we'll be looking at is Vandy of the Diamond Defenders versus Tanner, coach of the Chicago Toros. And this is a big match for Tanner because he has to win to keep his playoffs hopes alive. After that win by Wumples, it secured the fact that he could progress if he won. He needed to win this match, and he needs to win this match, and also needed um, the Anchorage Bearticks to win, or um, the Washington Wishmakers to lose. I believe they played the King City Kingdras, so they needed King City Kingdras or the Anchorage Bearticks to win. Basically, would help him in his playoff journey, and he obviously got that as we saw with that last match. So he needs to win this match to continue. But so we see a Gardevoir lead into the Landorus, and so we see an immediate trick here. This, I, I really don't know what to say about this play. Every time I've seen Vandy use this Gardevoir, he immediately tricks. And I understand trick scarfing, trick specs, like tricking a choice item is a great strategy, but it's not always going to work. I think it's pretty crazy too because this Gardevoir managed to trace the Landorus' sheer force. And I mean, sheer force boosted Moonblast. I don't know if it one shots Landorus, but it definitely it's a threat because you know Tanner doesn't have a lot of switch ins to it. His best switch in being the Toxapex and the Amoonguss who fear psychic moves. So it's like obviously he would lock himself into the Moonblast, but I feel like that just it's not a heads up play. Gardevoir is very good into to Tanner's team, and it's just like you're not the Landers is going to click attacking move. It's not going to switch out. So if it attacks you, then it's faster than you the next turn, and you just kind of wasted your Gardevoir. So I see this basically every week he's brought the Gardevoir where he just kind of throws it away. Darkrai comes out though to force out the Landorus. See the Ice Beam and does nothing to the Toxapex. Switches into the Archelodon. Not a bad switch. Obviously immune to Toxic. Immediately goes on to the Landorus and we see Electro Shot here. I once again, like, yeah, Electroshock does a lot to the Toxapex, but I really don't know if there's a world where the Toxapex ever stays in there. This is a bit of I will say, this is a very bold switch by Tanner going to the Landers. Obviously, he wants to kill this Archelodon as fast as possible, but but you risk hitting hit with either Flash Cannon or Draco Meteor that's going to do a lot of damage. So either way, I feel like this is kind of two just like not very great plays by either of them, and it just happened to benefit Tanner the most because he goes for the Electroshot instead of just hitting Draco Meteor, which would have done a lot of damage to this Landorus. Another way, though, Troodon falls down. We see the. I'm surprised. I'm surprised we saw a switch from the Landorus here. Obviously, it's choice, so it's always going to be faster than this. and I mean it would have done a lot of damage. We see it. We see the we see the annihilate click bulk up here. Very smart switch though, not wanting to get toxic or potentially hit with something else. Goes out into the Articuno to force it out. We see the agility. And very unfortunate here. Hurricane miss. Foul play does a lot. And then we see another hurricane miss. So that's very unfortunate for Vanny. Obviously, that's unfortunate. Nobody wants to be put in that situation where you're missing two hurricanes like that. Um, very very smart switch here. I like the pivot into the Darkrai just to immune the potential Thunder Wave, but at the end of the day, it doesn't give you much value. But just nasty plot in front of the Grimmsnarl anyways, instead of like trying to get some damage or some chip. I mean, at this point, like Tanner's in a very commanding position anyways to win this game, but I feel like it's just it's not a smart play in that position at all. Not worth it in my opinion. Just take the potential. I mean, another thing too is, Defiant on, he parting shot that turn. He didn't even Thunderwave. Getting the Defiant boost on the Annihilate would have been huge in that situation. Obviously, I don't blame him for switching necessarily because, like, Grimstar is going to threaten you either way. Um, but I don't know. That's just not a great play, really, and truthfully, in my opinion, there. Just gets you nothing. See the parting shot coming in on that Rhyperior. Uh, Dragon Talent to the Toxapex. Doesn't do much. Gets up his rocks. Spore puts it to sleep. Giga Drain. See the switch into Annihilate. Giga Drain does next to nothing. It's pretty big, really. Um, I mean, there's a lot of potential comeback. Don't get me wrong. This Annihilate can do a lot in this matchup. We see the bulk up come out. Toxic from the Toxapex. One of the very unfortunate things that this Toxapex, because of the Toxic plus Haze, as we see right here, just is able to basically stop this Annihilate from doing anything. Um, Recovers here because we're going to see this is that was a boosted Rage Fist. Remember, because we took Annihilate took the damage from the Giga Drain earlier, so that was a 100 base power Rage Fist. Did absolutely nothing. Um, Even at +1. So that's very unfortunate. Take a lot for this Annihilate to be able to actually break this Toxapex. And like I said, it's not like Vanny didn't have options to break Toxapex. They had two Psychic types, a Ground type. Darkrai would be able to do a bunch of damage to it. And to be able to get stalled out by his Toxapex this late in the game is kind of, a little sad, I guess you'd say. Because I think, Vanny's team was able to easily break this Toxapex. Um, Try to bulk up here one last time. Chilling Water, and I think it gets a crit here. This is what I was talking like. The Toxapex had, I mean, the Annihilate had some chances. Really, I mean, there's a lot of stat drops because between the Toxapex, and both Grimmsnarl and Toxapex dropping stats consistently. I mean, that Annihilate had a potential because it was able to take advantage of their stat drops with Defiant, and if he wouldn't have died there on that last turn with the Toxic, I mean, we could have been this Toxapex could very well be dead, or not dead, but be chipped down. But at this point, I mean, the game's mostly over. We see the Terra Fairy, but the Chilling Water um, lowers the attack, so it's able to preserve. Basically, this Rhyperior is not able to do anything from this position. See the Amoonguss switch to preserve the Toxapex. Earthquake does 24. And basically, Amoonguss spores and is able to just stall out this game. Basically, there's not a chance for Vanny to do anything, unfortunately. So 6-0 for Tanner. Basically the best week he could ask for. Getting both a 6-0 and the win. And also ensuring that, a team that he needed to lose lost. So big week for him. Congrats on staying in the playoff contention. Um, Chips fell right, for him. So he has a big week this week coming up. Week 10 will be a big week for him because basically it's his only chance of making the playoffs. He's been on a great run. I think he's won four of his last five. Only lost to me. Big upset last week against Manny. So very exciting for him. I'm very excited for him. So that's great to see. Move on to our third match of the week. Cerulean Guardians, coached by Bean, versus the New York Munchlax, coached by Manny. This is kind of a, I don't want to say a throwaway game. Manny did need to win, or didn't necessarily need to win, but a win for Manny would clinch his playoff position. So it's not like a completely useless game, but obviously Bean is eliminated from the playoffs. He has been for a few weeks now, but or out of contention, should I say? So Manny's on, and it was in a great position prior to this week for making the playoffs, and he was winning in. So this is semi-important game, I guess you could say. Obviously, it has pretty big implications. But we see the Chin Pao lead into the Garchomp, and obviously is going to force it out. And Charizard takes way too much from Ice Spinner, dies in the Sucker Punch on the next turn. So Regieleki comes out to force out the Chin Pao, but Tinglu, basically perfect counter, takes absolutely nothing, or takes nothing from the Thunderbolt because it's immune. Smart switch, though, into the Walking Wake to force out the Tinglu. And Ball comes in, takes decent chunk from Hydro Pump. See another Hydro Pump. I like this is a very smart plays I see from Bean, where he tries to, instead of immediately going for the higher damaging move on something like a resist like this, he goes for it again to not want to get to avoid the special attack drop from Draco Meteor. Obviously, like I think maybe a switch would be the better play. Not that he has great switches to begin with, but I think that that's a very heads up play there to really just be like, hey, I get more chip and then leave him open to taking more damage from the Draco Meteor because we see it come out on the next play, the next turn. It does a lot, 48%. I believe this is Assault Vest Quack, so it's not going to do a lot to it. Draco misses on that play. Close combat does live the close combat and is able to kill with a Draco Meteor on the next play. So even 5-5 here after about 10 turns. Jin Pao comes in, though. Revenge kills the Walking Wake. Then we see Regieleki come back out. And we see a smart pivot to the Garchomp. Nice double switch there, predicting the Tinglu. But Earthquake does absolutely nothing to this thing. Sarah Ledge comes out. We see a Destiny Bond, but smart Whirlwind by Manny. Brings out the Regieleki once, switches into the Garchomp though, but I think Manny clicks. No, okay, Earthquake's his turn, that's not a bad play at all. It's either Earthquake or Whirlwind. They're both great plays. Do see an attempted setup, but obviously the Whirlwind comes out. Another switch into Ledge, and another Earthquake from Manny picks up the kill. Garchomp comes back out, tries to SD once again, but very smart Whirlwind. Drags out the Regieleki once more. Explosion there. I mean, I don't really hate that play. Obviously, doesn't do a lot to the Tinglu, but you have to try and wear it down by any means necessary. And it's able to get the Iron Moth in for free. Dazzling Gleam does do a big chunk, but not enough to kill Tinglu. It's way too healthy. I think Bean's best option in that situation is just chip it down with Earthquake as much as possible. Just Earthquake it with Garchomp every time it came in. He tried to set up on it, and it just wasn't going to do anything because he was going to constantly get phased out. I think really like if he just Earthquaked it more and just wore it down, he had a shot at winning. I don't want to say like, oh, he was going to win, but that Tinglu was the biggest thing standing in the way of Regieleki being able to kind of clean up against Manny's team. Uh, gave him a better shot, should I say, anyways. But anyways, that's the wrap up of that match. Manny secures his playoff spot with that one. So good week for him in that regard. Our fourth match of the week. This is a pretty pivotal match, mainly for playoff positioning more than anything. Safari Rhyhorns, coached by Bernie, against the Dewey Duats, coached by Vortex. And like I said, positioning is the big thing at stake here. Vortex has already clinched. Bernie has not clinched yet and would have been win to end this week as well. So once again, kind of like the last game where it's like it doesn't have as big an impact on the playoff race, but it does have some impact. So we really, both teams are obviously going to try. You know what I mean? They're going to try to win. So you see the Ogerpon lead into Samurott. You turn to the Samurott, it stays in, and we see a Ceaseless Edge to get up a Spike. Aquajet to Revenge, so very smart. I think this is Sash Samurott, so very smart plays by Vortex early just to get up his hazards, get a kill if you can. Gets Aqua Jet to get some chip on the Hydreigon. It Draco Meteors here, and that puts it at a obviously the special attack drop. So Ninetales kind of gets a free switch in here because it doesn't really fear the Hydreigon. See a freeze dry come out. I think this was potentially to catch the Ogre Pond switching in, but I think the best play overall is just to get your Veil up first. Obviously, Flash Can doesn't kill because of the special attack drop, and we see Ninetales actually live through Veil and is able to pick up the kill on Hydreigon this turn. So Vortex able to get his Veil up and pick up another kill. Ogerpon switches in though, able to pick up the kill on the Ninetales this turn. And here we see the Bax Caliber come out, which is superpower from Ogerpon, but does absolutely nothing to this Bax as it's able to Dragon Dance here for free, basically. And Glaive Rush does it does a huge chunk. It straight up kills it. See the Rhydon come out is definitely the best switch in for Bernie in this situation, as the Terra Water can't eat up the Icicle Spear. And I believe this Rhydon hits Earthquake. I would have liked to have seen the Rock move come out. I don't know if it had the Rock move, but obviously you need to do as much damage as you can. Earthquake did a big chunk to this Baxcalibur. And we see the Hurricane Talonflame come out. Very interesting. I was surprised that this Talonflame was faster than +1 Bax. I know this Bax is adamant, I believe. So um, Talonflame being faster, very unfortunate for Vortex, because obviously that Baxcalibur was in a very good position to clean up this game. But uh, Talonflame, Rain Dance, see a Rain Dance in front of the audio. I like this tech. Rain Dance, Hurricane, Talonflame. Very interesting tech, but it doesn't even do half to Latios, so a Draco Meteor is able to clean up. We see the Volcanion come out, switch into Corviknight to reset the special attack on the Latios to basically ensure the end of the game. Corviknight does not live 2 Steam Eruptions, so just a sack there to reset, and the Draco Meteor cleans up. So big win for Vortex in terms of his seeding. Unfortunate loss for Bernie. He still has not clinched playoffs. Uh, he needs. He's winning in this week as well. Or if he does lose again, hopefully he doesn't for his sake. But obviously, if he loses, then that comes down to tiebreakers and whatnot, differential. So he's in a he's in a tougher spot this week, but obviously is still winning in, so he controls his own destiny essentially. So big week for Bernie coming up. Next, our fifth match is Jake of the Washington Wishmakers versus Phil, who is still substitute coaching for the King City Kingdras. Um, and this is a big week for Jake. He's in one of those teams that's kind of sitting on that bubble for the playoffs. And a win here would have been great for him. It would have just put him that much further ahead of everybody. And actually, I think if he would have won this week, he would be winning in next week, week 10. So he needs big week for him to win, obviously, and a big chance for Phil to play spoiler coming in, playing the last few matches of the season, covering for War Master, and playing a bit of spoiler. He had a huge game last week that had a lot of effect on the playoffs, and has another game this week that has huge playoff implications. I think next week too, he's also playing another team in playoff contention. So chances to play spoiler for Phil. So big games up in these past few weeks. We see Cinderace leading to the Kilowattrel. Immediately switch out, obviously Kilowattrel being slightly faster, not wanting to take the damage there, but just a U-turn from the Kilowattrel as well into the Golden Go. And we see the Gouging Fire come out immediately, and Golden Go switches into Swampert, and we see a Dragon Dance from the Gouging Fire. Obviously, it forces out that Golden Go. And Dragon Call does a bunch. And unfortunately, we see a bulk up here. And this is basically a massive misplay from Jake. I really think hindsight's obviously always 2020. Swampert is the best check to this Gouging Fire in this match. I really think we either Golden Go, which I guess Golden Go does have some value, mainly Clefable and Skarmory. Great into those two. Maybe I think it might have been especially defensive Golden Go the way he brought it out on the Kilowattrel. So obviously it has potential in this matchup, but I think seeing it I really would have liked to have seen a Shadow Ball into this Gouging Fire, because if he just straight up kills you, then this Gouging Fire is less of a threat. The Gouging Fire Dragon Dances, it's a massive threat to your team, because even your like we just saw, I'm guessing this is probably physically defensive Swampert. It might not have been, just because it was bulk up. But the Dragon Claw did 81%. That's a lot of damage. So, and not attacking with the Swampert, going for the bulk up on this turn, just not a good play. Obviously, there should have been a calc there to figure out how much damage it was going to do to know that you need to attack it. You need to get damage off Scouting Fire, weaken it so you can finish it off later. And I really think Jake blew both of those chances. I really like to have seen a Shadow Ball into the Gouging Fire, do some damage to it, maybe switch to the Swampert on the next play on the Flare Blitz, get some chip through the Flare Blitz, recoil into the Gouging Fire, and maybe either force it out because maybe it doesn't think it can kill the Swampert, or at least just let the Swampert dive and come in and revenge show or something later. A very unfortunate misplays there from Jake, though, basically giving the Gouging Fire a free kill and Swampert one of its best checks. Then we see the Iron Valiant come out, and we see an immediate switch. It's a very interesting switch, I think, because Gouging Fire definitely lives whatever uh, Iron Valiant wants to go for and can probably just straight up kill it. So very interesting switch there, but playing safe. Um, Moonblast into the Skarmory. Interesting to see no either potential setup or Thunderbolt into the Skarm. So you know forced to switch out and burn its photosynthesis. Unfortunately, and that means that this Gouging Fire can easily just Dragon Dance later in the match and would not be able to be revenge killed by Iron Valiant. But we see a Pyro Ball into the Gouging Fire. Would have done nothing, even though it did miss U-turn, and this gives it the Gouging Fire another chance to set up. And Valiant won't be able to threaten it out this time. As I said, we see the Flare Blitz kills. Takes some recoil though, and this Gouging Fire is in a great position to smash. Earthquake does not kill on the Slowbro, and we see a Toxic. I think so. I don't really blame the Toxic play because obviously you want to limit the Gouging Fire as much as you can throughout the match. But really and truthfully, this should have just been Psychic move or something. Um, Maybe to just hope for the crit, as it does Dragon Dance again. That's another thing too. Obviously, Jake had no clue that play was happening, but if he Toxics and then Psychics or Sludge Bombs or double Psychics or double Sludge Bombs, obviously this Gouging Fire is probably dead here, and it gives Jake a better chance in this match. Uh, Smart Earthquake by Jake too, not taking any recoil, not only take recoil from Flare Blitz, and also I don't know if he necessarily read the Terra Fairy, um, but smart play from Phil. I don't know if I said Jake. I'm sorry if I misnamed who the coach was. Smart play from Phil there. Earthquaking though, not risking the immunity from the Terra Fairy and also the recoil from Flare Blitz. So smart earthquake play there from Phil. And at this point, I mean, Guiding Fire is kind of carving through this team. We see the sack on the Cinderace to preserve. Nice regenerator preservation though on the Slowbro though. But unfortunately, this is not going to matter because this Zarude is in a very good position to clean up this match. We see the knockoff is able to Oko the Slowbro, Oko the Slowbro, and Oko the Golden Go. So bit of a rhyme scheme there in the late game with the Okos. But Zarude cleans up and a huge 0-5 loss for Jake more than anything. Knocks his differential down a lot and puts him in a tougher spot for this playoff position. So next week is a huge week. We see all of the teams, a lot of the teams that uh, were going to be in worse positions if they lost did lose, and we did see some teams that got better positions out of it because they got wins that they much needed. It's an unfortunate week for some of our coaches, but it just makes the playoff race that much spicier, really and truthfully. Our final match of the week, though, will be Board Addict of the Minnesota Glow Kings against Brady of the New Jersey Jinx. Board Addict was in a position where if he won, obviously he was going to be safe for this week. If he lost, he needed one of either similar. He needed either the House of Mouse or the Washington Wishmakers lose. Both of those teams did lose. So basically, the outcome of this match, I don't want to say doesn't matter. As far as playoffs are concerned, Board Addict would remain in contention regardless of the result of this match. But obviously, a win is the best overall thing for him because that obviously will help him out the most. But we'll get right to the match. Hatterene lead into the Meowscarada and eats a bit from U-turn. So Jake Button, though, is able to deny the Meowscarada. We see the Tornadoes come out. Bleak Windstorm into the Heatran does pretty much nothing. And Focus Blast comes out. We see a miss. Rocks go up. Nasty plot. Lava Plume does a decent chunk. Gets a first turn burn though. So this Tornadoes is on a bit of a timer in this match. And we do see another Focus Blast miss. A little taunt to stop another nasty plot. Not a bad play from Brady. I think maybe I understand the hesitancy to switch and I want to get damage on something, but we do see 3 Focus Blast miss for Bordak. That's obviously super unfortunate. And I think it really was a bit of I think it has big implications for this match just because getting not losing that Torn such an important speed tier and also not getting rid of this Heatran. Very unfortunate for Board Addict. We see Raikou come out though. Volt Switch doesn't do much at all. Heatran is obviously very specially defensive. Um, Earth Power into the Hatterene doesn't not do enough to kill, but Lava Plume will wrap it up. Scissor comes out and close combat to finish off the Heatran is able to get the kill. So finally the Heatran goes down. And then Palafin comes in. Very smart, bringing the Palafin on a turn. You're faster than the Scissor. Bait out the close combat. Does a lot to Thunder. So I do believe this is Banded Scissor. Switching to Quagsire makes a lot of sense, obviously. Absorbs the Volt Switch. The Palafin come back out. Toxic onto the Palafin. So Board Addict kind of getting a little bit of momentum back. See it as Water Absorb. Very unfortunate recover here. I would have liked to have seen like an Earthquake or something come out to get more damage off. Um, so very unfortunate to see the recover there. I don't know if he was not wanting maybe a choice close combat or a choice ice punch. So I don't really blame him for that play, but it's very unfortunate that it's basically a waste of turn. Earthquake though into the Meowscarada. Doesn't do a lot. We see the Terra Poison come out to resist the Flower Trick. Toxic onto the Meowscarada. Trying to hang in there. I mean, really, see the rocks on. Like the rocks would have came out earlier on the Palafin flip turn. That would have been obviously great value. Rocks come out now though as the Ursaluna comes in. Of course, going to force out the Terra Poison Quagsire. See a Blood Moon come out. Not a bad play at all. Does a bunch of damage. Is able to kill the Scissor through the resist. Aura Spear. Aura Spear crit from Raikou does a lot, but not able to finish off the Ursaluna. I do like going out into the Regidrago here. Basically, just getting it, something that you're guaranteed faster than, able to kind of set up on that. We see the Scale Shot come out, picks up the kill on the Palafin. Thundurus comes out though to threaten with Thunder Wave, and unfortunately, we see the Regidrago get paralyzed this turn. It's very unfortunate for a lot of unfortunate turn of events for Board Addict. I think had his luck been a little bit better, this match is a lot closer. Um, Dragon Dance. Right, smart Dragon Dance by Board at that play there. Kind of give himself his best chance as a Scale Shot is able to finish off. But Lycanroc comes out, and without being able to Terra, this Regigigas, I believe, was Terra Steel. I know Steel is one of its Terra options. So not able to Terrasilize there and take the Cell Rock basically means that Lycanroc can basically just finish it off or force a switch into Quagsire, which does not resist the Cell Rock anymore. So Toxic there. Recover though, trying to stall out the Viking Rock. Solrock's still doing a chunk. I'm guessing this is a choice Lycanroc. So he's in an Earthquake there. I would think another recover there would have been better. I don't really think this Quagsire might not ever live Blood Moon anyway, so it might not have mattered. Um, but if there was a chance it did, that was your best chance right there, was to recover, get as much HP as possible, try to play the long game, stall it out, see if you can kill Blood Moon and help you kind of preserve that win. But either way, very unfortunate hacks. I don't want to say there was really any misplays. The only misplay was like not getting up rocks earlier, and that's not like a huge misplay for the end of the game. Uh, Unfortunate for Board Addict. A lot of luck. Obviously Thunderwave hitting. Thunderwave does have a chance to miss. So, Thunderwave does land, and then getting the paralysis when he did, missing all the focus blast, put him in a terrible position. So, bit of a hacksy game, but he took it pretty well. Um, and does put them in a bad position come this week. Still in playoff contention though. So next week is a huge week. We only lost one team out of contention this week. That was the Turin Trevenants. By my hand. If you haven't seen my week 9 match, I played the Turin Trevenants. Fortunately, knocked them out of the playoffs. One of my good friends, I played. It's Titan HD is one of my good friends. I've known him for years. Played him, knocked him out of the playoffs. Had to play the villain this week, unfortunately. Um, but so only one team lost their playoff contention this week. So we still have a very tight race. A lot can happen, and I'm very excited to see what can happen. I'll be talking more about that though in my standings breakdown. I'll go over that. Talk about all the playoff scenarios, all the ins and outs, and everything. Try to get that done. So be looking out for that video. And until then, everybody be safe, and I will see y'all later.